We have Dale and Sharon.
There we go.
So this is my wife Sharon. Kind of a little story about it. We were members for Lifestyles for a long time, and I was in the corporate world, and we had one rent house. That was my former house that we lived in. We got married about 10 years ago, both of us for the first time. But anyway, kept on coming to meetings, even with David Fisher online and stuff like that. But still, we just like we need to make the jump, and everybody. I'll let Sharon take this part.
Well, we kept.
Oh,
Green. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So we kept praying for time to get this job done, to be able to find the properties. How do we find the properties? How do you find the time? And God answered our prayers, and he got downsized from his corporate job.
yay! Oh, wait, that's not a good thing.
In 2019, December, it's like they come by a little cubicle and they said, okay, take a box, whatever, we're walking out. And it was, I mean, they were nice and polite about it because they were downsizing. So they gave me a year's package to walk away.
The severance, yeah.
Severance.
That's awesome.
So I'm
You're
sitting-
good till the day you're not. Who's with me on that one? Yeah.
So I'm sitting there watching TV, playing with the dogs. My wife says, we need to go do something. It's like, now's your chance, now's your time.
Right. So I'm going to work every day. I'm in public education. I'm a school coordinator, and he should just go. I'm working. He should go work, right?
So fast
You're
forward.
driving me crazy. Do
Yes.
something.
Yeah, how many times can you watch, Sesame Street or any one of those kind of programs where it's like the old westerns? So fast forward, it was November. I got laid off. It was December, and there was a blast from Jennifer McCormick.
Yay.
And my wife says, "Well, you just need to go." And it's like, "Well, I don't know what I'm doing." It's like that. And it's like, "Well, we've got the one rental property, so it can't be that hard." It's like, you should just go ahead and go. So I answered the blast, and I went down there. And I think the long story short was, I think what originally was out on the blast didn't work out. So I called her, and she was very, very polite. She says, "Well, I've got another one nobody's seen before." And it's like, I haven't even looked at it. You want to come look at it? And I've learned since then, whatever. But anyway, we walked through the house, and Jennifer says, "Hey, this is a nice little house. This is easy peasy." When she says easy peasy, she means easy peasy. She says, "You should buy it." And it's like, okay, I'll buy it.
All right, so this is the house that we're talking about this evening.
No, that's not the house we're talking about. So
Okay, that's the first house.
this is the first one. So anyway, fast forward, we bought 6 houses last year during the COVID thing. And this
Is that taking action? Give him a hand. That's good.
So as David says, it's like I'm cracking like, I want another house, And I call Jennifer. It's like, "Jennifer, when can I get another house?" Like, "Well, let me see what's coming up, whatever." It's like, when the blasts come out. So you have to answer a blast. You have to get in line. So anyway, fast forward, it was June or July. Yeah, it was June or July of this year. And finally she says, "I finally got one in Texas City. You've got a couple in Texas City already." She says, "But this is not going to be an easy one." So
Not easy peasy anymore.
now easy peasy. She says, "Hey, it's a house. You wanted a house? It's like, here you go. Here's a house." So
This house scared me. We'd done some other ones, and this was a mess. It was a mess inside. It was a mess outside. It was awful. We ended up having to hire somebody to cut the grass so we could see how much mess was in the yard. We did. It was a mess.
Doesn't that look like a TV show on the left, right?
That is crazy.
But the nice thing about Texas City is there, actually I've gotten some of the people who in the public works actually know who I am. If you get the trash to the street per linear foot, they will charge you just like almost a minimum. So the total trash for all that in the street was like $165.
Oh,
total.
wow. That's cheap.
So if you get it to the street, they'll pick it up with a cherry picker, and all you have to do is say, "Hey, I've got trash." They'll come by, take a picture, and say, "Okay." They call you back. It's like, "Hey, $40, $50, total was $165.
Do you think I could bring them around to other Texas cities and do that with the homeless camps? I'll pay for it.
Something I'd like to say is this house was a dog, and through the rehab, I think we turned it into a little pony.
There you
Yes.
So one of the challenges, and actually I went through this with him, is how do you raise the floor? So if you look at the before picture there, that actually was a garage. Somebody put some French doors on it, but it was at ground level, and there was water that would come in those doors.
go. Oh,
So how do you fix the doors? How do you fix the floor? So anyway, got together with one of the contractors, and they actually did a raised floor, just a slight step, like about 6 to 8 inches.
Mhm.
And I'll let you. What was your recommendation about raising a floor? I think you had somebody in Texas City that had a raised floor as well. I think.
That would be me.
Yes.
That was his point. It was like
No,
the Mets
I-
did it already.
No, I personally raise floors in my garages just because it makes a nice
Yeah.
flow to the house, and it actually helps with the water seeping into the.
Yes.
Now, did you guys do all this work yourselves?
No,
You wrote a check too, right?
wrote a check.
Yes, and I don't raise.
I'll make sure they know that.
So
And neither do I. I pay somebody to do it.
and don't get nervous about Texas City. It's like my wife says, you're spending way too much time out there. What are you doing? It's like, well, I walked around the house and I saw this, said that, and it's like, well, the contractor's there. Yes. It's like, so what did you do? It's like, well, just kind of looked at things and pointed to things.
Who likes that? Every woman in the room can do this already to their husband. Am I right?
Yes.
It's no different.
So then when it got towards the end, I was doing FaceTime. I says, let's just do FaceTime. Instead of me driving down to Texas City, it's like, let's do FaceTime. It's like, okay, let's look at the new hot water heater, look at the bathroom. I mean, this house, everything you could think of could go wrong, maybe could have gone wrong. But I mean, they had as much trash inside the house. So when the renters moved out, they left couches, tables, and stuff like that. The charges were the same for moving stuff outside as was inside. They had this aquatic kind of surfer bar kind of thing with the blue coloring and kind of splash disc plumbing kind of thing.
Yes.
So what's important about what they just said is it doesn't matter where you live. Eventually, as they got more comfortable, it came up to FaceTime. So people watching from Hawaii or California, communist area, you could do this across state lines just the same. I know you guys are scared from out of state, but we have members from all across America doing it that way.
Yeah, I want to say something about that raised floor in the garage. We made that into a master. So we added a bathroom, added a closet. It was gorgeous.
Added value. Yes.
Yes.
So this was a 311, and so it ended up being a 320, but it had a little driveway in the back and stuff like that too. I had to take down some trees. That was some extra cost too. So the numbers, as we would get to the next slide.
So before we get to the numbers, I just want to point out two things. The trend is we don't buy nice houses, right? The crappiest they are, the better it is for us.
It's like going out on a date with a girl. It's a blind
Yes.
date. You don't want Cheryl Teagues. You want a girl that talked back twice with two black eyes. Who's with me? That's what we want. Ugly girls.
So when you go look at the house, don't let the trash scare you away. That's what I want to say.
Before we get to the numbers too, one of the things as I was rehabbing this house, Texas City is coming back in small sections and ways. So there was a house that was rehabbed next to this house. As this house started rehab, suddenly it's like the lot went on sale next to us. And people started driving by and say, we'd like to come in and see it. And it's like, well, it's not done yet. It's like, well, we'd like to come in and see it. In the original rehab, it was supposed to have been 8 weeks and ended up going into 16 weeks just because we really wanted to make it nice.
Okay. All right. So we'll go into the numbers. You bought the house for $73,000,
Correct.
and your after repair value or appraised value actually is $144,000. You put in $45,000 worth of work, and your closing costs are $15,000. So that leaves you net equity of $11,000. Cash out of pocket is $15,000 with a return on capital gain of 70%.
We'd be okay with that. Two people in a row. Awesome deals. I love it.
The cash flow is $458 a month. So again, you take $15,000 to the bank and they give you $450 every month for an annual cash flow of $5,490 for a cash on cash return rate of 35%.
Right.
Very good.
Not bad, huh?
Not bad at all.
I see you guys are jumping up and down excited too.
We are.
Oh, no, look, see, I got them to jump. You won't hint, but they will. That's a Moroccan
No,
thing.
that is 458. That's pretty good. That's actually good cash.
It is very good. Very good.
Okay.
But they didn't buy just one house, right?
No, they did not. They are actually under contract. You're rehabbing house number
9 right now.
9.
Wow.
House number 9 did not make it to the slide, but I do
Because it's
want-
not finished yet. We got to
it's
wait
not
for the numbers.
finished, okay? But I do want to point out the monthly cash flow along with the equity, okay? So every month, the cash flow is $3,200, and it will soon go up to $3,700? $3,700 a month. Okay, the equity of all the houses is up to 280,000, and it will go upwards of $300,000 with house number 9.
Is that pretty good? Give him a hand. That's huge, guys. Not bad.
So if someone were to give you $3,200 today, how many of you would quit your job?
Yeah, some of you could. Because you got to realize there's 5 ways to make money in real estate. Now, we're only showing 2 ways. We're showing the cash flow, we're showing the equity, but there's 5 ways. There's principal pay down, there's the tax benefits. If done correctly, the way I'm going to teach this weekend, I'll teach you why. This is all tax-free income. So that might be the same as making $5,000 a month, from a regular job because you're paying taxes on it. So you have a $60,000 a year job, that might be enough to retire you. You understand? So it is enough to retire some people.
Interject on that too. This last year we did not pay any taxes. We got money back. And
God bless the IRS.
Do you mind sharing how much you got back?
Okay. So we got back about $19,000.
Who'd like that? Not only not paying, but you got back $19,000. The other year, me and my wife Karen made $2 million. Guess how much taxes I paid in?
0.
No, I got back $28,000. God bless the IRS. I'll teach you that this weekend, though.
Yes.
That's an apartment. You make a little more.
So who was on your team?
Jennifer McCormick.
Yeah, we have a
She
rock
says
star.
easy peasy, you buy. And I mean, I'll brag about Jennifer McCormick. Lifestyles is really great because they do give you get emails about how to do this. There's slides, there's classes. And it's like you cannot get enough of the classes, but still, when she gives you a list, it's sort of like the same list you get from Lifestyles, and it tells you steps. And she'll even recommend people and agents. So one step back is we had this place rented 2 weeks before it was finished. In fact, the lady was so anxious to get in there, she was actually asking to be measuring blinds before it was actually finished. So we used Camille Escobar, as they mentioned, the other people mentioned too. It's like, I've done some, renting reviews and stuff like that, and it's like, you know what? I don't want to do it. It's like, it's just easier to have an agent do it, and it's well worth it. So All Star was the contractor. They did really good job. Like I said, they did FaceTime, they did places. They were very polite and they said, this is a problem we ran across. This is a problem we ran across. And it's very easy to just address the problems as you go. Capital Concepts, Elena Marco Giuseppe is over here.
Oh, okay, cool.
You got a question and you're walking through it or you're going through the process, it's like that. It's like, when's the next trial? Oh, it's going to come in 2 days. It's like, you need to get your paperwork in. You need to get this done. It's like, okay, give me the HUD one. It's like, so we can get the conventional rolling and going before you even finish.
So a quick story about Jennifer. She's the one that bought me my first lock box, and she and I went to.
And by the way, if you're new, just so you know, Jennifer is a Lifestyles realtor. She works for Lifestyles Realty. Okay.
And she made me put up a for rent sign on the house, my first house on day 1, and absolutely did not believe that was going to happen. I was like, okay, I'm just going to trust the process, and I did.
Yep, there you go.
Give credit to Evelina. Evelina has graduated on to
Yes.
a higher position
Yeah,
within
she's
the
bought her own
Lifestyle family.
apartment, so it's kind of cool.
But she answered a lot of questions too. And actually, sometimes she's saying, why didn't you ask me that question before? It's like, well, I was kind of want to do it on my own. I don't want to bother you too much, but bother them. That's what they're
Yes.
there for. That's what the team is there for.
Great.
All right, so what's next for you guys?
Well, we're already into multifamily. We want to get into more multifamily. We've actually been talking to him before class for becoming an IRO because, the single
Really
family.
quick, for those that don't know, an IRO stands for Independent Rental Owner. It's where you buy an apartment by yourself with no other partners, keep all the money for yourself. Anybody like that idea? We teach you how to do that as well. It's not only buying by yourself.
All right.
Well, we'd like to graduate, to the other levels where it's like we get into multifamily and more. And as we found out, it's like you can't do it slowly.
Yep.
But the thing, I would tell people is, when I walked out in 2019, it's like, I thought, what am I going to do? But we had some things in place that I had a package from the company. I had everything paid off. So there was things like that too. But, I was thinking about this the other day when, Hen was talking to us about it, is that, if you got laid off tomorrow, what would you do? Would you have to be working at McDonald's or wait to try and find another job with the downsizing the economy? But if you had a few rentals in your portfolio that you can do FaceTime, you could break at lunch. But I was like, hey, contractor going through like that. Suddenly you walk out, it's like, you know what? I've got 3 houses. I can get 6 or more in the next year. It's like, hey, why not? Go ahead and do it.
There you go.
So before we move to the next slide, I want to say that we were in my office and I asked Sharon. Well, Sharon mentioned that she could probably retire today, right? But you choose not to.
Because I'm the W-2.
Because you are the W-2.
They would say she's my sugar mama.
There you go.
Right. So with that said, shall we move to?
Yes. So here's a really cool thing. We have this thing where If somebody can replace their income from their job, which he has done, he doesn't have to work anymore. If you come up here and do a case study, we have these new things that are pigs fly, because when do pigs fly, right? So he officially retired. Is that pretty cool? How many people want one of these? Well, get your ass up here and share your story, okay? But I want to present this to Dale and Sharon because you are one of the recipients of this. Should I pin it on you?
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll do it the way the Marines do it.
like
We
the
put it on the
military.
arm and then we hit you.
Okay, there you go.
Here we go. Or should I put it on Sharon? Well, we got to retire her next.
She's got the fancy clothes, so
I
maybe
know.
not.
Here we go. All right, give him a hand. That's awesome.
I'll give a little plug too. It's like if you have not gone through a 2-day with David, I mean, my wife will sit there and say, David's doing another 2 days. It's like, yes, he is. It's like, are you watching again? It's like, yeah, I am. It's like, because I always get something more. There's something I missed. Or suddenly it triggers something in my mind. It's like, hey, how did he go from single family to multifamily? How do you do this? How do you do that? And it's like, and they tell you and they teach you. I mean, there's just so many things that they can teach you and show you is building a team. So we have a team now. So when something goes wrong during the freeze, as he was mentioning, I just called up, one of the contractors and said, hey, you did just property such and such. Hey, it's like, yeah, well, their materials are tough and hard to find like that. But because, you did general contracting with us, we'll get it done. So I had 4 properties that had plumbing problems during the freeze. And within 2 to 3 days, every single property is either shut off water or fixed.
Good. And there's always solutions to problems. Remember, we've heard it all. He can always reach out to mentor anytime he has a headache. And it's very powerful what Dale said. And me and Hin were talking about this earlier, in one office back here. She's like, we have members that are buying some multifamily and they're buying some single family, and they haven't been to seminar in years. Guys, if you're a member, I don't care if you have 10 houses, I don't care if you have 5 apartments invested in, come back to this seminar as a refresher at least one time a year, because things have changed since you joined 5 years ago. Interest rates changed, rules have changed. I encourage everybody to come back at least once a year, maybe this weekend. Trust me, people, it'll be life-changing.
And you always learn something new.
You always do, because the questions people ask will make me go on a diatribe about something different.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, any questions?
Any questions? Good. There's one right here.
Good.
Hold on, I get exercise again. Oh wait, never mind. Jacob got exercise.
Well, congratulations on y'all's success. I noticed 9 houses. Do you manage them yourselves, or
I do.
you do? How much time do you think that
Great
you put
question.
into managing those homes?
That's a really good question. I would say at the most maybe 4 or 5 hours in a month, but sometimes only about an hour or two. It's like just checking to make sure that they've made payments, checking to make sure that the banks are in line and stuff like that.
I want you to think about that. He says maybe an hour or two, maybe 4 or 5 hours. If he's making close to $4,000 a month now with his next property coming in, that's $1,000 an hour. Is that worth his time? You see what I'm saying? Because that's when you got to really relate your time to what you're making now. A couple hours a month, real easy.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, Jacob, do you have 1 or 2 online? Are we good?
So why did you choose the house if it was such a dog? Was it in a nice neighborhood?
Well, I could see that the neighborhood was coming back. I'll be honest, like this has just been a really tough year. So last year we got 6 houses, so it was hard to find houses, but still it was a house, and a house that could be fixed. The numbers worked, and if the numbers work, you buy it. There's a couple things that were here and there that was kind of questions, but still I could just see the vision. And again, it's like Jennifer says, hey, you know what? It works. So if she says it works and it's like the numbers work, you buy it.
Do you know what I loved about his answer? It's a type B analytical answer. It was really hard to find houses. I only bought 6. Am I right? Getting over fear, stepping up. What I love about our students is most of our people are very, I'm not saying politically, but fiscally conservative. How many people in this room consider themselves fiscally conservative? You're frugal. Yeah, that's my students. That's why we're here. We're fiscally conservative. We make sure our numbers are right. Once I teach them how to do it one time, they can replicate a process over and over and over and do it 9 times. Give him a hand for that, because that's about it, what he did.
You know what he said to me? Sorry,
Sure.
quick. Dell said, this is becoming boring. And I said,
It is boring.
Dell Walmsley said, if you do it right, real estate should be boring.
Absolutely.
So he is definitely doing it right.
I know. Who likes that idea? It is. It's boring. It's sheetrock paint, but it's the same color every single time.
Very true. Very true.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much.
Give them a hand. Thank you so much, guys.